I have two questions. One, in terms of like the story, what was the other 70 million for? So if it was funneled for Kawhi's 48, what was the other 70 for?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So the thing that people need to understand as we go through this is that Steve Ballmer invests money into Aspiration. Aspiration spends all of it virtually immediately. And this is an enormous part of following the money, and the sources that I spoke to provided documentation. And as well, by the way, as the documented financial filings, disclosure forms that all prove that everybody else saw what was happening, seemingly except for Steve Ballmer. As in, Aspiration got tons of money, $300 million in the fall of 2021, $50 million from Steve Ballmer, to Billy's question, in the fall of 2021. What happens after they get that money? They spend all of it before Kawhi Leonard's first payment in June of 2022 is due. And so the cycle here is Steve Ballmer puts in money, Aspiration asks for more money right when Kawhi Leonard must be paid. And so when I speak to the alleged defrauding of Steve Ballmer, this is how it can coexist, is that he was kind of trapped according to the sequence of events and according to what the timeline might suggest in this relationship in which he knew he had to support a company that was guarding the most embarrassing secret that he had. And so they had leverage, according to the reporting, over him in that regard. Although, of course, the degree to which he knew and when he knew remains frankly, a crucially important topic for my investigation and the government's.
Billy, hand raised, second question.
Yeah, can you explain carbon credits to me? And are they similar to NFTs or crypto? Like, how does this work, and how do I sell them? Yeah.
You just made a carbon credit, Billy. You just made it.
Yeah, but what is it worth?
Well, it's worth, so typically, right, what you just did, people in the open market of carbon credits, they pay 5 to 10 cents for that, what you just did. Aspiration.
It's taking me 3 hours.
I know. Aspiration was charging $1. Like, that's the margin of, like, the carbon credits business. But your point, by the way, like, what the CFTC is looking into, the federal agency that they regulate commodities, is whether a carbon credit is actually just a commodity, not unlike a stock. To your question, is like, what is this? An NFT? Is it a financial instrument? Mm-hmm. This is an active debate in government. Like, should we regulate these things like they are stocks? Because what they really are, according to all of the reporting I've done, they're a lot like widgets, right? They don't actually exist. It's the action of you planting that tree.
This tree is real.
Well,
no, this tree exists. I can confirm that.
That's a lot more than.
How do I make money off of this? Is what I'm asking you. Like, crypto's at like 100,000. How much is this carbon credit going to get me?
Seems like we're not paying very well, Metal Arc Media, if he's been working for 3 hours and we're going to give him 10 cents. That seems
that's just the market rate.
Below minimum wage here. I've got a bunch of questions.
Like our internship.
And we don't have a lot of time left. So I would be flabbergasted and stunned, given the evidence that Pablo is providing, if the penalty wasn't hugely stiff, because you saw what happened with Deflategate. It's not as egregious as this. Whatever the hell it was isn't as egregious as this. Like the idea that you would have these rules and circumvent them this flagrantly, Zaslow, like this flagrantly, I just don't see a circumstance under which the penalty isn't enormous.
I'm totally with everything that Pablo is saying, that you just said as well. I just don't have any faith in Adam Silver laying down the hammer. I mean, Pablo, he got up in front of everybody the other day and said he's never heard of Aspiration. That wasn't taken out of context, came right out of his mouth. And then a couple of days ago, he tells everybody, oh, no, I meant I never heard of this scandal. It's bullshit.
Look, the thing that we have in the episode as well is that, to Zaz's point. So Adam Silver, without any ambiguity, says, frankly, I've never heard of Aspiration in any way. There's really no wiggle room around like the clarity of what he says. He says he's never seen anything related to an engagement with the Clippers. He says that as well, or Kawhi Leonard. And then I get the contract, the actual contract for the $300 million founding sponsorship deal that the Clippers signed with Aspiration. And it says right there in the writing of it that these deals must be expressly approved and submitted to the NBA. And so in front of a stage earlier this week, Dan Roberts at Front Office Sports asks Adam Silver about this thing I had just tweeted out. And then you get this statement, which if you go and watch the video, It does not, I think, fit into a plausible interpretation of what he had said before. So the question then is, why did Adam Silver say the first thing when he said it? Why wasn't he actually aligned with what he says the second time? These are important questions speaking to the credibility of how a league is governed, let alone the fact, by the way, that this whole company was seemingly vetted by apparently no one, including, and I want to make this point again, and it's a serious one to some extent. The reason why fraudsters keep on using sports is because they expect that if you're up in the signage of an arena, if you're a founding sponsor, if you have the naming rights deal of a building, it means that sports, which is so flush with cash and lawyers and respectability, it must be true that sports has vetted you, and therefore you can trust them. We see this over and over and over again. You saw it with FTX in Miami. We see it now again with Aspiration. You saw it with Enron in Houston. It happens for a reason. And the question that the leagues now have to be asking themselves is, when do we actually fulfill the terms, the implicit terms of this trust that America has given us? Because right now it's a one-way transaction and a lot of people are getting scammed.
A lot of people are searching for what Pablo has on this story. I would also say to everybody listening to this, if you want to check out what Pablo has done with Semaphore or Ethan Strauss, you could get more explanations for what Pablo is trying to do in general with Pablo Torre Finds Out, selling old media basically to the internet and young people on the internet. One of the funny things about this story is the idea of people who can buy everything but can't get what it is that they want. The idea that Steve Ballmer couldn't get Kawhi Leonard to do the things that he needed Kawhi Leonard to do. Can you explain to me how much money Ballmer has more than the other owners, Pablo?
He could buy out everyone else. He's the richest owner in all of sports, and it's not close. He has $150 billion. He is the boogeyman when it comes to any contest in which money is the weapon. And what Steve Ballmer has done is, I think, live out this, frankly, this parable about sports, in which sports has more than ever the richest people in the world interested. For reasons, by the way, that I just alluded to, but also because of sincere fandom. Steve Ballmer is a hardcore basketball fan. I interviewed him once when I was doing a story about Harvard basketball, and he told me about, and this was, of course, many moons ago now, he told me about how he was a scorekeeper, charting assists and rebounds. Like, that's the kind of hardcore basketball sicko he is. He's cared about youth teams. He's coached youth basketball. And so the question is, when you have everything, you have all of the money in the world, but the thing you want the most is something that, because sports is governed by fair play and rules, you cannot simply buy, right? It's one of the few places left in civilization where you can't just buy the thing you want. You have to earn it. You got to win it in a fair competition. The only thing resembling meritocracy we have left, frankly. Steve Ballmer cannot do that because in the NBA, there's a bleeping salary cap. And even when you circumvent the salary cap, you might end up with the one superstar who looks like Michael Jordan when he's healthy, but every other time you play with him or try to get him to play, he's a guy who seems to be rebelling against your mission specifically. It is maddening. It is infuriating. And it's also why this story is, to me, like one of the great parables of wealth in America through the lens of sports.
Thank you, Pablo, for your reporting and your work. It is tireless. It is exhaustive. Pablo Torre Finds Out is where you go. You mentioned, Pablo, that, the words infuriated and everything else. And I'm looking at the Reaper again. And the Reaper looks pissed off with everyone here for keeping him waiting. So thank you, Pablo. We will talk to you later.